Hello, everyone. This is Eric with Chris at potstocks.com with this week's news webcast. As a disclaimer, nothing in this broadcast is intended to be an endorsement for stock trading. If you're interested in getting involved in the market, please seek the counsel of a licensed financial advisor before doing so. Starting off in our news this week is Heliospectra, HLSPY, on the OTCQB. They have been rated number one in a study by the American University of Akron Research Foundation against all other light sources tested for sugar value in plants, taste, and consistency in their products. Chris, give us a little background on this.
Right. So Heliospectra is one of the three companies that are in the ARCPC, the Association of Responsible Cannabis Public Companies. And they're headed up by Chris Walker, who we actually met at the Marijuana Investor Summit this year. Very nice guy and really cool company. I think from a trading standpoint, if you're a day trader or a swing trader, it's really not anything to look at because they do suffer from really low volume. I think they had a day this week where basically no shares traded hands. So, but if you're an investor, they actually do have some really appealing things. And the foremost of those are, finished viable products that are already on the market and are apparently testing really well, kind of like, with this Akron test. So that's great. And then also from an investor standpoint, they have only about 5 million shares in the float, which is pretty unique among OTC stocks. It's a $2.30 price point, so it's not the cheapest stock out there on the OTC. But I think over the long term, Heliospectra is definitely an interesting one to actually look at for long term investors.
Yeah, they're a staple name. They're definitely out there, and they are obviously being rated the highest in their area. So for anybody that's interested, obviously keep your eye on that in the long term because I don't think they're going anywhere. They've proven themselves to be quite a substantial force to be reckoned with, at least in the lighting industry. So up next, we have MCIG Incorporated's construction division has announced a master distributor deal with Cannapod. MCIG is a leading provider of technology products and services for consumers, dispensaries, and growers in the medical and recreational markets. They've agreed to become the master distributor with the full line of Cannapod products, which, for our viewers' information, are, in their own words, turnkey, customizable, fully modular, ISO clean cultivation rooms. Chris, give us a little bit of information on the companies and the synergy here.
Yeah, that was a mouthful.
Yes, quite.
No, basically, so the Cannapod is basically there's a few other people that are doing this. It's kind of like the Grow Blocks thing. I think Medbox might have had one too. But basically, it's a self-contained little grow room that isn't a massive structure, and you could sell them retail. So I think that's good for MCIG because it broadens their product line, which has been up until now kind of restricted to vapes and e-cigarettes and that kind of thing. And the one thing MCIG does appear to be really good at, I can't really speak to their products because I've never tried one, but in terms of their marketing, they're great at that. If you go to their website and poke around their products and some of the pictures and just the way they market their products is definitely I would say one of the top in the industry. I think that's good, and I feel like Cannapod is wise to get in with them. I don't know that it's a tradable event for MCIG. I assume they're going to be making a little bit of money off of whatever that deal is, but over the long term, that's probably speaks well to their stock.
Yeah, the big thing that I read about that was that MCIG's sales and marketing teams are really what Cannapod is going to be utilizing in the deal. So the technology that already exists with Cannapod, coupled with an existing company's sales and marketing expertise, should be good over the long term. But obviously, it's going to be something that everybody needs to keep an eye on because you just never know what's going to happen. So moving forward, we have America's first cannabis resort has opened in Colorado. Cannacamp, a bud and breakfast mountain resort in Durango, Colorado, has opened. It is a 170-acre all-inclusive getaway with 9 cabins with daily beer and wine gourmet meals, unlimited access to equipment, and guides for outdoor activities, which includes kayaking, hiking, general wellness classes, and yoga. Chris, what do we think here? What's the deal?
So it's kind of an extension of the bud and breakfast type deal where you basically throw together a resort type thing with cannabis, and it kind of works. And it's kind of an extension of the fact that there's no current social normative place to go consume cannabis. So you get stuff like Cannacamp, and I think that's cool. I think you're going to have definitely like resort towns, like, Breckenridge is probably the best example right now. I think you're going to have a lot of resort towns really benefiting from legalization as it moves forward. And this is, just one of those examples.
Yeah, it's a good. There's a void, I think, in the market there for, you have bars for alcohol, which is a social meeting place for people to go and consume the product. And this can, I think, at least in the interim, until it kind of fleshes itself out a little bit, these sorts of places are really going to fill that gap where you can take people on, whatever type of outing you're going to go with a group of people. There's social group activities that you can do and consume cannabis in a safe and social environment. So I think it's a good place for the business to be. Moving forward, this week, Canada has fully legalized all forms of medical marijuana. The decision was unanimous, citing that smoking marijuana can present health risks and that limiting the form of the medicine they take, quote, unjustifiably violates the guarantee of life, liberty, and the security of the person. So that came down, again, unanimously, which I think is a pretty big deal. So, Chris, give us your take here.
Right. So that's awesome news for Canada, and I hope we can celebrate that kind of news for America soon. We'll see. Unlikely, but we'll see. So for some Canadian stocks to look at, and this is in no way intended for you to trade or invest in them, but Bedrocan, BED.V, Tweed, TWD.V, Organogram, OGRMF, and Nutritional High International, it's NHL. And it looks like Bedrocan and NHL had a boost on the news, but Tweed and Organogram haven't actually responded yet. In fact, the volume on Organogram the day of the news was just over 1,000. So I'm not sure if that's just a deficit of information or of interest. But if there was ever a tradable event in the Canadian pot stock market, I feel like this is it. So I think that's huge news for traders, probably in the next week to 2 weeks, as that kind of news filters out. But do your research on each stock independently, just like you would an American stock, and just be careful before you're diving in.
Yeah, just as the general sway of things as well with Canada and our relationship with the United States, for everybody in the States. Hopefully, what we'd be looking at too is that the United States will likely want to fall in line just due to back pressure of people, because what we've seen in the States is that a lot of individual states are concerned about losing out on taxable revenue. Hopefully that will have a little bit to play for, I'm in Michigan, so some border states. I know that we have some things coming in the ballot in 2016. Hopefully that will play a role in it as well. So moving forward, Lloyds of London, a powerhouse in the insurance industry when it comes to the cannabis sector, has announced this week they will be exiting the marijuana marketplace and pulling their insurance on all businesses. Estimates are as high as 80% of cannabis businesses are currently insured by Lloyds of London, leaving a huge gap in the business coverage. The company cited federal anti-money laundering laws as a primary reason for exit. Just to, as a point of note about the insurance industry as a whole and getting your insurance pulled if you're a business, sometimes it's required for licensing. You can lose that. Loss of use is a huge issue that you could run into if you do not have insurance, if you are not required for licensing, and just any myriad of issues where if a city civic code is rewritten and you need to restructure your building, if there's natural disaster, obviously vandalism is always a fear for a business owner. So there's a lot of stuff at play that can really put somebody out without having insurance. So Chris, give us a take here.
I feel like it was a weird move for Lloyd's. It seems like a no-brainer for them to insure cannabis companies. These are the guys that are insuring like space flights, but they think it's too risky to insure a retail or a grow operation. And I don't know, that seems a little crazy to me. So I think this is probably an overreaction at some of the higher levels of the Lloyd's management. I don't know. In terms of effects, there are insurance alternatives out there. But this will likely cause some really big spikes in policy prices. So it's sort of a perfect storm for insurance companies that are already capitalizing on a risky industry, that now, their biggest competition's gone and they have these operators scrambling for new policies. So I would hate to be in their shoes right now.
Yeah, it certainly leaves a tense vacuum in the industry there. It needs to be filled, obviously. That's something that any business owner has to have, even if it's not necessarily a requirement for state licensure, but just from a profitability standpoint, you really need that safety net beneath you to A, for peace of mind, and B, to remain profitable through through times where things out of your control may happen. So hopefully we can see that get resolved soon. And Chris, the last thing on our docket today, then last week you had a powerhouse hit with MJMJ on our look at stocks. So let's see if we can keep the ball rolling here. Give us your looks for next week.
Right. So to piggyback on our Canadian stock discussion, I think Bedrocan, BED.V, looks like it could climb back to its previous trading range of about 75 cents. And I'm curious to see if, the new legalization status gives it more of a jump. I had about 10 cents of gains on Thursday and Friday, and I would anticipate that to continue. For American stocks, I would look at TerraTech. It may have found a bottom at 11 cents. It closed up on Friday at 14 cents. It's actually now back to kind of the pre-hype levels from back before the big 2014 rush. And I think it has some good volatility. So look at that one. And then CANN, Advanced Cannabis Solutions. It looks like it's to be on a steady climb. It definitely had a strong Friday close. So look for some retracement, probably from its current price point of $275, and a possible Tuesday or Wednesday entry into that one.
Excellent. Everybody, thank you for watching. Please head on over to potstocks.com and generate some discussion threads on our web forums about the news that you've heard today. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and check out our other informative webcasts for you and some of the interviews that we've done recently. I am Eric. That is Chris with potstocks.com. Everybody have an awesome day. Stay in the green.